If you're wondering why I'm standing in the middle of a snowy yard to talk to you about how to start a vegetable garden, that's because this is the perfect time of year to start. I'm Carol Connare, editor of the Old Farmer's Almanac, and as a writer and editor, I spend a lot of time thinking about who, what, when, where, why, and how. And it turns out some of those same basic questions are just the ones we want you to ask yourself before you buy a pack of seeds or a starter plant. So we have 3 questions to ask yourself before you get started in the garden, and they're sure to get you started off on the right foot. The first question we want you to ask yourself is, where will you be gardening? There's lots of choices. In the ground, raised beds, in containers, maybe a combination of all 3, and it will depend on your site. So each has pros and cons. In the ground is usually the least expensive if you have good soil, but it can be more of a workout. Raised beds, they let you control the soil, and they warm up quicker in the spring, which is nice for people like me gardening in the north. But they also can dry out faster. And then if containers, awesome for small spaces, for patio gardening. So when the snow melts, we'll be able to take a handful of that soil and see how it feels in our hand. And if it's crumbly and it looks like it can tell a good soil, great. In the ground planting is great. But if that's not the case for you, our raised beds again are that way to control soil and amend a smaller amount than say a whole yard. Question number 2 for our beginning gardeners is the sun. El Sol. Where is it? How is it hitting your yard? I learned this lesson my first garden. I tilled a huge space by the house I was renting, planted all my seeds in April. And then in mid-May, I noticed an oak tree that I hadn't noticed before, which leafed out and put 3/4 of my garden into shade. The arugula did fantastic, but nothing else was very happy. So it's so important to know where the sun's hitting our garden area. And it's a great time to study this in the winter. If it's hitting your gardening area now and you're figuring out how many hours of daylight, it's going to be even more in the summer. The sun will be higher in the sky. So that's what we think you should do, is figure out how much sun your spot has. Look at it in the morning, midday, and then in late afternoon. And think about how many hours overall that spot is getting. Most vegetables like 6 hours of direct sunlight, your tomatoes and your peppers. Some like more, corn. But also, the shade space is not wasted because, as mentioned, greens love shaded space or shadier space, and so do herbs. The third question we want you to ask yourself is about time. How much time do you want to spend gardening? It can be endless, or it could be a few hours a week. It really depends on how much time you want to spend and how much time you have to spend. All the tasks take time. Weeding, watering, pruning, thinning, looking out for problems before they go too far, and of course in the end, hopefully harvesting. And so all of those pieces, of course, are wonderful and good for us, but how much time do you really have to spend? And another consideration for time is, do you travel in the summer? Do you go away? Gardens can do pretty well for a week. A few patio pots of tomatoes and greens, or even a couple of raised beds, that's a few hours a week. More than that, you're going to be investing a lot more of your time. So that's probably the biggest mistake that we hear from gardeners, is that I started too big. I should have started small. No harm in starting small. So before you buy a single plant or a pack of seeds, we hope you'll ask yourself these 3 important questions. Number 1, where am I gardening? Number 2, how does the sun and the light get to my garden? And number 3, how much time do I want to spend? If you spend a little time now pondering these questions, you'll be off to a great start. And what better time to do it? This is the season of garden planning. So thank you for joining us, and please join us to garden through the seasons.